Hey everybody, it's ScoMletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing another premiere draft of March of the Machine. Without further ado, let's get into the draft. We've got a Yorion Sky Nomad here, and I did make a goal to do at least one draft with every companion by the time the set is up. And this one I think is actually pretty legitimate to try to have in the companion slot. You have to play a 60 card deck. So we need to have almost everything we draft be at least playable in the deck, but if we do, we're going to have access to a 5 mana 4/5 flyer in every single game. Not only that, but it can flicker all of our cards to redo any enter the battlefield effects, like those on Invasion of Mogg, Protocol Knight, stuff like that. So I'm going to take Yorion Sky Nomad here, and I'm going to try to build me a 60 card deck this draft. We're just going to roll with it. We also have a Yara in black, which is the safer rare to take. It's a lot, not a lot stronger. It's pretty much just as strong, and you don't have to actually build your deck around it. But with Yorion, we're going to be able to start each game with an 8-card hand if we do build our deck around the Yorion. So I'm going to go for that here. It just seems like a really fun time, something that we could definitely work towards. So ideally, we're going to be in white or blue, but we could have any other secondary color, so we can still just take the best card in each pack for now. That being said, this pack doesn't seem incredible. Tetsuko Umezawa is fine with a bunch of 1 toughness stuff. Render Inert is fine. Moloch is fine. I think nothing in here is strong enough to really push me off white or blue. The difference between the power level of these uncommons and just like an Afara's Dispersal for really solid interaction is quite low, so I'll just take the Afara's Dispersal here. Not a super exciting pack to me there. For pack 1, pick 3, we've got a Seraph of New Capenna, which is pretty solid, flipping it into a bigger flyer later. Swordsworn Cavalier is nice in blue-white, because usually you care quite a bit about playing a lot of Knights, where this card is going to be constantly a first striker, which is pretty nice. Thunderhead Squadron's also pretty nice. Golden Scale Aeronaut's okay. Invasion of All Growth is pretty solid off color, but not incredible. Again, I don't think it really pushes me off of just going for blue-white, making Yorion really easy to play. Go for Cavalier or Seraph here. Both pretty solid. I think I'll go for the flyer. Scoop up a Seraph of New Capenna for now. Pack 1, pick 4. Well, Invasion of Amonkhet is a very, very good battle. It's got a pretty great front half. Mill each player 3. Then each opponent discards a card and you draw a card. And if you flip it, it's incredible. Getting a 4/4 that's a copy of the best creature in their graveyard, and making your opponent discard a card and drawing a card for only 3 mana is an incredible deal. You just have to be able to deal the 4 damage to this battle. So I think I'm going to take Invasion of Amonkhet here and make sure I have a lot of evasive creatures or just nice, aggressive, cheap threats to try to flip it. Now we're potentially trying to go blue-black at the core for that invasion, or splash in a little bit of black for it. Now we have a Final Flourish for a really good piece of removal. 2 mana instant speed -2/2, and if they have something bigger we need to kill, we can sacrifice something to do so. Final Flourish is a great piece of removal. Freewheeler is also quite solid, but I'm going to take removal really highly because my last couple decks have had a really big issue of just lacking on interactions, so I'm just going to start taking removal incredibly highly because it seems like I can never find it in the draft pods because I guess everybody else in the draft pod is taking it so highly that I never get any removal late. So I guess I gotta just go with what everybody else is doing and take the removal highly if we can't see it later. So we'll take Invasion of Amonkhet now. A second copy is gonna solidify us into blue-black for sure. It's a very, very good card. That blue counterspell is pretty nice as well. The Artistic Refusal. Really expensive, but if you can convoke it, that helps a lot. And it is quite high impact, countering a spell from your opponent, drawing a couple cards and discarding a card, really good value. I'll take the Artistic Refusal this time, over not too much. Pack 1, pick 8 now. I do have to make sure pretty much everything is main deckable to get Yorion to pop off, so I can't just like draft something for Vault Progress here. I'm not thinking Yargle's very good though. We'll just take a 2 mana 2/3 defender, I guess. I don't know how I feel about that. We're definitely not going to be consistently putting enough cheap creatures on board to convoke Halo Hopper and make it any good. Shapecraft doesn't really do much, so it's just Lookout versus Yargle. I really don't think Yargle is all that special. 3 toughness for a 5 mana card is so low. Even if your opponent doesn't have a lot of removal, they can just block it really easily with a card that costs them much less mana. There are 2 mana 3/1s in this set. I don't really like playing a 5 mana 3 toughness card, unless it has extra abilities, which Yargle does not. Take a Protocol Knight here. If I end up with some other knights, it's going to be quite good. And it's okay by itself for attacking battles. Take a Tetsuka Umezawa now, which is just completely unblockable by itself to start hitting battles with. We've got a Thunderhead Squadron for another knight, keeps us in primarily blue here, as we choose between black and white as our second colors. We might have to play all 3. Tidal Terror is nice, gives us the island in the early game and the big late game drop in the late game. Billy Rider is filler enough that I think I would be happy to play like a 28 land deck to just have some dual lands in here over a Kithkin Billy Rider there. And we cannot play a Searing Barb. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. This is going to make me want to play a 60 card, 3 color deck, because Boonbringer Valkyrie is by far the strongest card in this pack. A 5 mana 4/4 flying first strike lifelinker is already incredible, and it has backup 1. So it can put a counter on itself and be a 5/5 flying first strike lifelink, or put a counter on a different creature to send that in the sky instead. Easily the Boonbringer Valkyrie. And a Breach the Multiverse out of black. Alright, we're just going to have a ton of bomb rares, but a little bit of an awkward mana base, being in a 3-color deck here. But Breach the Multiverse is one of the strongest cards in the set. You're going to have each player mill 10 cards, which actually, if we're playing a 60-card deck, we could have mill as an alternate win condition too, because we're going to have an each player mills 10, 2 different each player mills 3 cards. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, you're going to get the best creature or planeswalker out of each graveyard onto your board, which is just game ending. Take the Breach the Multiverse there as an incredible bomb. Alright, pack 2, pick 3 now. Skittering Surveyor seems incredibly valuable for this deck because we are going to have an awkward mana base at 60 cards. Yeah, and we are going to have a lot of expensive cards that we want to keep drawing lands to hit. So I'll take a Skittering Surveyor and be pretty happy with it. Invasion of Arcavios is just really bad and limited. Grabs an instant or a sorcery, and then when you flip it, you can start copying an instant or sorcery. It's just pretty narrow. Really hard to flip too with 7 defense. Timurat's super hard to cast early with double black, so that'd be a late game play. Wicked Slumber's a fine stunner, I guess, but nothing great in that pack. Pretty easily the Surveyor. Looks like no removal in this pack. We could take Marshal of Zalfir for blue-white knights, but I don't think we're going to be that consistent and that synergistic here. We're more about just raw card power level. Captive Weird hits that pretty well. A 1 mana 1/3 to slow your opponent down, then on turn 3 you can flip it, draw a card to play next turn. Captive Weird is just an exceptional card, so we'll add it to the deck. Pack 2, pick 5. Not much. I do want to take blue cards over any other color to keep the mana base as easy as possible. Mainly blue, splashing in the double white, the double black. Definitely want more 2-drops, I think, to be blocking well, so I could take Expedition Lookout. Does Scab mill each player? It does, so that fits that whole mill everybody plan, which is kind of fun. Yeah, and we're almost definitely going to wheel the Expedition Lookout, so sure, we'll take the Halo-charged Scab there. And it has an Enter the Battlefield effect for Yorion, completely forgot about that. Now, nothing in blue, just a negate, so it's between the black card or the white card. Currently, the only white card we have is Boonbringer Valkyrie, whereas in black we have Breach the Multiverse, Final Flourish, Invasion of Amonkhet's. I guess there's a Seraph of New Capenna, but that's not as good as the double Invasion and the Final Flourish. I feel like Norn's Inquisitor is way better than Aetherblade Agent, though. This card is just absurd, and it's an Enter the Battlefield effect to flicker with Yorion. Yeah, I think I'm still taking Inquisitor over Aetherblade Agent, even though we were deeper in black than white at this point. Take a Bola Slinger here. It's got an Enter the Battlefield effect. It only requires a 1 white mana, so it's not that hard to cast. In our 3-color deck. Triple Invasion of Amonkhet? Alright, okay. Take that here. Triple Invasion of Amonkhet, we might be getting to the point where we have just a consistent enough, bomby enough blue-black deck that I just stop the Yorion Dreams and push into blue-black. It's probably what I would do if this were during the Arena Open or something. I really don't know if I can stop myself from trying to make this a 60-card deck, though. But I'll prioritize black over white, I think, at this point. Not to the point where I'm not taking this Tranquil Cove. I guess we'll go Battle Fan, because these other cards are not super playable. I guess Scroll Shift does work in a Yorion deck. It's fun. Get a lot of ETBs. We've only got a couple, though. Rather take Battle Fan. Another Halo Charge Scab. We do wield the Expedition Lookout for an early game blocker. This deck's going to be sick no matter what I do. If I try to play 60-card Yorion, it'll probably still be pretty strong. And if I streamline this into just a 2-color pile, it could be really efficient and really synergistic. We do need to pick up more removal, though. We got a Final Flourish that I took incredibly early, and that was it. The only removal spells that the only good removal spells that I remember passing on were like, I passed a removal spell to take a Breach the Multiverse pick 2. That is just how hard it is for me to come by removal in these draft pods. People just take it over everything, it feels like. Speaking of taking removal over everything, we'll take the blue interaction of Farah's Dispersal here. It's just in the main color, and it is really efficient, can set up our draws. Going to be really important in a 60-card deck, and still quite good in the 40 build. Oh my god, double Breach the Multiverse? Now I'm taking Breach the Multiverse over removal again, over Merciless Repurposing or Vanquish the Weak. I mean, it sucks to have to pass up the removal, but that's just straight up. When you get another Breach the Multiverse, you kind of got to scoop it up. It's one of the highest win rate cards in the entire format. It is an absolutely unstoppable rare. And because I took the rare over the removal, pack 3, pick 2, we're going to see probably no more removal spells for the entirety of pack 3. I guess we get one cut short. I'm already probably splashing white with double Tranquil Cove Skittering Surveyor in the 60-card or 40-card version. So, alright, there we go. One more removal spell. Join the party. Alright, Invasion of Growth is not a great removal spell, but it is removal nonetheless, gains us some life as well. I will take that over the Dismal Backwater. I'd love to wheel the Dismal Backwater for super lucky, but if we don't, maybe Cryptomancer. Take Invasion of Growth. More interaction. It's always good. Here's a Render and Nert, which can flip one of our 3 Invasions of Amonkhet and draw a card when we cast it, or flip an Invasion of Growth and draw a card, or kill an Incubator token and draw a card. Actually kind of flexible. I like the Render Inert here. Another Skittering Surveyor for dang sure. Even if I'm a 2-color deck, I'm now a deck that's going to be relying on casting 7 mana bombs, relying on making it all the way up to 7 mana, and Skittering Surveyor is a great way to do that because it's going to draw us another land to our hand. So if we make it to 3 mana, Skittering Surveyor makes sure we hit the 4th, and from there maybe cast a draw spell to try to hit the 5th, 6th, get our way up to Breach the Multiverse. I am passing Corruption of Tawashi for Surveyor, but I think it's just really important for this kind of deck. Now a Temporal Cleansing is solid interaction. No removal in black. There's a Tygam in white. Give your instants and sorceries rebound. That's very fun. That is very, very fun. I should probably just take Temporal Cleansing and move to blue-black 40 card, though. But I'm taking Tygam. Tygam seems pretty fun. Do some fun stuff here. There's like nothing good here. I guess Revelation's okay. Assimilate Essence is okay. I'll try out the Assimilate Essence. We tried out Traumatic Revelation last time we drafted blue-black. We'll try out Assimilate Essence this time. 2 cards that aren't the kind of cards I usually tend to play, but they have seemed a lot better in this format from what I've been hearing and seeing because of the slapped on abilities there. I think I like Moment of Truth here. I like Invasion of Rin for sure, digging to the big bombs like Breach, but I think I want some cheap card draw as well to go around. More ways to dig through our deck. We have 2 ways to surveil, 3 cantrips, Moment of Truth digs out of the top 3, Invasion digs out of the top 4. Lots of ways to dig to the breaches. Probably not playing Negate. Probably not playing any of these. Definitely playing Cyber Cryptomancer. Definitely playing another Moment of Truth. And alright, so we just try to survive till we hit 7 mana and then close out the game. We get triple Moment of Truth? Well, now I wish I took the Invasion of Rin. I didn't expect to wheel every copy of Moment of Truth under the sun. Alright, so we're at 54 cards. So if I want to play a 60 card deck, 8 plus 9, this is 17 lands right now? Oh my god, we actually have a reasonable... $60 card deck, probably? Did we just pull off Ojutai? 15 plus 8? That's 23 lands? Yeah, I get to cut more cards and put more lands in, so I get to cut my worst cards? Oh my god, I did not imagine that was going to happen. I guess the mana base is awkward, that's the one issue here, but not horrific, really. Yeah, nothing in the sideboard I really want to put. I could put negates in, but I think I'd rather just be cutting some cards out of here and running like a 26 land deck or something like that. Run a lot to make it to 7 mana a lot for breaches. We are at 24 lands exactly right now, so I could cut like 2 cards for 2 more lands and be pretty happy. Our creature count's not exceptional for a 60 card deck, but not horrific for this kind of build. I think it's low enough to not really want the combat trick bladed battle fan sort of thing, so we can cut that. Definitely want my ways to dig through the library, the Moment of Truths and the Invasion of Rin. How many instant sorceries do I have for Tygam? 12? 12 out of 60 is not horrible. I can do some stuff. Probably just a 4 mana 3/4. Decent amount of time. I guess you have to attack with it to get the rebound, which makes it a little more difficult. You know, I think the biggest issue with the 60 card version of this deck is that we're just going to have so much less removal. Right, because we technically will have the exact same amount of pieces of interaction, like removal, counter spells, all that, but we'll just draw it less often with 20 more cards in the deck. And I'm not in love with the Tygam. I could definitely see maybe cutting all the white and seeing how the just 40 card blue-black looks. I don't think I can do 60 card blue-black, though. Alright, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to complete the 60 card version of the deck, and I'm going to save it as is, and that's what I'm going to play today, because I want to play every companion, and you can't stop me. But then, once I complete that, I am going to build the 40 card version of the deck, and show off what would probably be the most competitive version of this draft. Just for posterity's sake. But I'm not going to play that version, because that's too bad. 60 card Yorion is what it's going to be. So, I'm going to cut the Bladed Battle Fan, and I think for this 60 card version that I'm going to end up playing, I guess I could cut one of the Moment of Truths, keep that creature count as high as possible. Bullet Slingers really doesn't feel great in here, but I guess it gives me another backup counter with Yorion, which is kind of cute. And I do want many creatures for these squadrons. Pretty, like, fine with these defenders. blocking early game and all of that. Don't have any knights for the Protocol Knight, do I? But it still taps something when we play it. We have 4 knights somehow. Not a lot in a 60 card deck, but I thought I had just 1. I guess we have 3 other knights. Oh, 2 of them are the Thunderhead squadrons. And 1 is the Norn's Inquisitor. Okay, that's interesting. 60 card build, I think we have so much self-mill going on. Between triple Amonkhet, double Halo Charge Scab, Moment of Truth, these breaches are going to be just incredible when we dig for them, so I'm going to keep Invasion, triple Moment. I'm going to cut just 1 random dorky creature, and I think that is going to be either Protocol Knight or Bola Slinger. Both of these are really just aggressive, but at least Protocol Knight has higher toughness, so I'll cut the Bola Slinger here. And then cut the Bladed Battle Fan and run 26 lands here, I think. For this deck, pretty high count for a deck that's wanting to hit 7 mana all the time and 5 mana turn 5 every game. So check our colors here and make sure that's perfect. 23 blue cards, 8 black and 5 white. We're at 12, 8, 8 right now. 12, 8, 8 split. That feels not bad. I do have the double white rare. I don't want to cut too low on white cards. Yeah, 12, 8, 8 seems reasonable to me. Although I'm so used to building mana bases for 40 card decks that I have no idea. I kind of instinctually know the good percentages and stuff for 40 land or 40 card decks. But when I get to a 60 card deck, I'm like, I don't know. 12, 8, 8 sounds good to me. Sounds fine. I don't need double black until I have 7 lands on board, which is going to be pretty late in the game. Like we'll have drawn 14 cards minimum, 7 in the opener and 7 draws. I guess 13 cards minimum if we were on the play. I guess an easy way to think about it is 15 cards is a quarter of the deck in a 60 card deck, and we want to have double black when we're a quarter of the way through the deck, because that'll be like a turn or 2 after turn 7, which is fine. So we want to see 2 swamps 15 cards in on average. So 2 swamps out of every 15 cards would be 8 total swamps. Yeah. I think double black's more important than double white because we have 2 breach and 1 Valkyrie though. Might go 9 swamps then. At 9 swamps, on average, every 15 cards of our deck includes like 2.25 lands now. So halfway through the deck, on average, we have 4.5 swamps. 3/4 of the way through the deck, we have 6.75 swamps, and all the way through the deck, it's 9 swamps. That sounds about right to me. Probably going 9 swamp, 5 plains instead. And for the islands, with 12 islands, that's 1 out of every 5 cards. Our average opener has an island. We only really need 1. Our only double blue cards in the whole deck either have Convoke or Island Cycling, where I don't even have to cast it. Alright, yeah, this mana base seems very reasonable. That is going to be the deck list that we end up playing, but before I go to the deck overview for this, let's check out a 40 land build for just being streamlined and aggressive. Well, not aggressive. This is not an aggressive deck, but being consistent, I guess. Alright, and here is an example of how I think I'd build the blue-black version of this deck. Again, kind of all in on the double breach the multiverse, but this way we can hit them much more consistently, so I don't need the Moment of Truths for card draw, don't need much of the 5 mana, 6 mana like Convoke cards, stuff like that. Instead, We're just setting up mana with Surveyors, Tidal Terrors, constantly drawing with Invasions of Amonkhet, Invasion of Rin, digging through the library, trying to block everything early game with some Lookouts, Tetsuka Umezawa to maybe chip at those invasions, but really the ETB effect is good enough for us, and we have Render Inert to flip them. And then as far as Dispersal, Final Flourish, Assimilate Essence, and Artistic Refusal as interaction to try to stay alive long enough to consistently hit those breaches on 7, and they are such a big deal, especially with no real like aggro going on early in the game, that we are going to run 18 lands to get there, and we should get there really consistently with 18 lands, Tidal Terror, and double Skittering Surveyor, so it's probably right around what I would have the more streamlined 2-color build look like, but we're definitely going to go with that 60 card build, so we'll pull that back up and get into the deck overview. Alright, here we have a look at the completed deck list for today. This is going to be a 60 card Yorion build with Yorion Sky Nomad. We get to have this in our opening hand every single game as long as we are running 20 cards above the minimum deck size. So that's why we've got a 60 card deck today. We do have to spend 3 mana technically to put it into our opening hand, but the tax doesn't matter too much because you just do that later on when you're out of things to do to get a little extra card advantage and get a pretty bomby card. A 4/5 flyer can definitely close out some games, even without the nice enter the battlefield effect to potentially flicker all of your other non-land permanents. So we've got a few pretty good cards to flicker, like Skittering Surveyors. We could grab another land. All of our battles could get their enter the battlefield effects again. Can it flicker battles? Yeah, any number of other non-land permanents you own and control, which you technically do own and control battles, even if you put them on your opponent's board for them to defend it. They don't technically control it, which is a little interesting, a little strange just in the way that things work like that. But yeah, Yorion should be able to flicker any of our permanents, which is quite sweet. So throughout the deck, we have a lot of good card draw and card selection because we are a 60 card deck. We have to be able to dig for our powerful cards. As we said before, we have 3 Invasion of Amonkhet that draw a card when we play them. We have the 2 Skittering Surveyors to draw lands when we play them. Invasion of Rin to dig pretty deep, draw 3, discard 1, and 3 Moment of Truth, drawing a card of our choice out of the top 3, so digging through any cards we don't need at the time. We have a decent amount of pretty dorky creatures on average. Captive Weird is a good little piece of card draw, but then Norn's Inquisitor puts out some blockers. Expedition Lookouts are just some defenders. Cryptomancer could protect one of our other threats. Tetsuka Umezawa is decent at attacking battles and can help our Skittering Surveyors attack some battles. But yeah, most of the creatures, not super synergistic. They're kind of just a hodgepodge together, like Seraph of New Capenna in there, Protocol Knight in here. Tygam can be really fun if we can get Tygam attacking and surviving those attacks. That'll be a little bit difficult, but if it happens, being able to rebound our instants and sorceries could be quite strong. And as we get higher up on the mana curve, we've got Halo Charge Scabs, which are decent value plays. Thunderhead Squadron for a big flyer. Tidal Terror can island cycle early game or be cast late game. And then we have our big bombs. We have a Boonbringer Valkyrie if we manage to hit double white. That is just a gigantic flying lifelinking threat with a good enter the battlefield effect as well for Yorion. If we want to put that +1/+1 counter on a different creature and then flicker the Valkyrie later and get another counter out of it, that could be pretty sweet. We have Breach the Multiverse. We got 2 copies of this, and this will absolutely end the game anytime we manage to cast it. So that's why we are running quite a few lands. We're running 26 plus 2 Skittering Surveyor plus a Tidal Terror. So the Breach the Multiverses are going to mill each player 10 cards and put the best creature planeswalker from each graveyard onto our board. So we're kind of dirtling around, doing our thing for most of the game, and playing a lot of card draw, digging for these big game enders like Breach the Multiverse, Boonbringer Valkyrie, and potentially just setting up a lot of enter the battlefield effects to play a Yorion. So pretty solid stuff here. The one big flaw of this deck that has been a flaw of many of my recent decks that I've drafted is that we're super low on removal. Removal, at least in my experience in my draft pods, is taken tremendously highly. So it really feels like a back to basics kind of bread sort of format where bread is the limited heuristic. That means you take bombs, then you take removal, then you take evasion, and then you take the last 2 are just less important. It's like aggro or defense, and then aggro or duds. The last two don't matter too much, but it's bombs, removal, and then evasion are the first three things that you take. And I think this format really kind of fits that from what I've been seeing, because there's tons of bombs you should be taking pretty highly, and then removal spells vanish super quickly and are incredibly important to your deck. So you should be taking removal if there aren't any bombs in the pack. So it does feel like kind of a bread sort of limited format to me. And I think I have been dirtling around too much, trying to get too focused on specific like value plays that I enjoy or synergies I'm trying to pull off and stuff like that, when I should be just taking removal and getting my bread and butter essential cards down. Because as you can see here, we have a Final Flourish, we have 2 Afara's Dispersal, we have a Cut Short and an Invasion of Ulgrotha, but that's it. It's not a lot of removal for a 60 card deck. It would be an okay amount of removal for a 40 card deck, but it still has the flaw of none of our removal spells really being unconditional. This Invasion can only kill 3 toughness things. The Flourish can kill 6 toughness things if we sacrifice something. The Cut Short can only hit tapped cards, so if they have a Vigilant threat, or if they have a really powerful card like Shieldred that can just sit there reanimating things that doesn't have to attack to do good work, then Cut Short might not kill it. And of course with Dispersal, they can just recast the card in the future later, so not in love with our interaction, but we have 2 counterspells as well to make up for it, Assimilate Essence and Artistic Refusal, that are hopefully decent. I know Refusal is decent, but we're not as good at Convoking as the other decks I've had this in. And Assimilate Essence, this will be my first time playing with this card, because I generally don't like taxing counterspells. But the worst case scenario on this card doesn't seem that bad. Your opponent will still have to pay the extra 4 mana, so you know they're probably not playing another spell that turn, or not having the mana up to flip any incubators, and you'll get a 2/2 out of it in that worst case scenario. So I have heard that Assimilate Essence is a lot better than a lot of these taxing counterspells in previous formats, so I'm going to try it out, just like I tried out the discard spell in our last blue-black deck. So that is the full deck for today. Should be a pretty fun one. Hopefully we can breach a lot of multiverses, play a lot of Yorion Sky Nomads, do a lot of big stuff, but see how it all pans out for us as we head into the gameplay. All right, here we are for game 1. Nothing early game here, but I can render inert to flip the Invasion of Rin, which is pretty cute. I can Tidal Terror for a land. For opponent's aggro, we're kind of just going to die, but they are a slower deck. There's a lot of good card advantage and just good card quality here in general. We're going to start with Rugged Highlands. Play an island and pass the turn. Now a forest and Invasion of Mercadia. So a 4 defense battle on the board, and I'm not going to be able to defend that particularly well. But they are just setting up for now. Assimilate Essence is an incredible draw here. Being able to counter their first creature they play to try to hit the invasion with is going to be quite valuable. And if I don't want to counter it, then I can just Tidal Terror. That does ramp them, which is pretty important. Kind of always bolt the bird kind of thing. Get rid of their mana when you can. Play the Assimilate Essence as basically a Stone Rain here. Yeah, I think I do that. Even though it doesn't hit the battle that badly, it just hits it for 1 each turn. Okay, let's drop the plains. How badly do I need another blue source from Tidal Terror? Not badly enough to not just put Yorion in hand right now, I think. Get that mana investment out of the way. Rampaging Geoderm. Well, that did not work out too well for us, did it? Not the putting Yorion in hand part, but the countering the mana dork, because now they just have a creature big enough to flip the battle. And yeah, we're just going to get snowballed out. Flipping a battle. Kind of always massively devastating. Can play a 2/3 against a 4/4 and a 7/7. I guess we're going to Invasion of Rin to set up some card draw. We've got to breach the multiverse. If I make it to 7 mana, we're doing things. So what am I doing on turn 5? What is my best way to survive? Is it just play a Yorion? Unfortunately, it kind of probably is. Play a Yorion for chump blocks. And turn 6 Tidal Terror for chump blocks. I don't think I can actually survive here. Drop the Seraph, I think. Oh, and I have 7 cards in hand, so I have to drop another one. Artistic Refusal is going to be way too much mana. I can't afford to hold that up. I need to just play blockers, and then I need to play Breach. Alright. Take 8 down to 12. Yeah, gigantic haste creature. It is destroying us. If they didn't have a giant haste creature to immediately flip the battle, then at least I wouldn't have taken a... They wouldn't have had the flame right out. Yeah, we would have been in a significantly better spot. If they didn't have the haste creature, we'd be doing fine right now. But instead, we're just dead. I think the decision, obviously it got me killed choosing to kill the Mana Dork instead, but I think it was still a fine decision, all things considered. Not for them having Geoderm in hand, but again, if they didn't have Geoderm in hands, it slows them down considerably. Which is what we needed there. Yeah. Rampaging Geoderm MVP. Heading into game 2. Got a definite keep for game 2. Important tracker turn 2 from our opponent. Set up our Invasion of Amonkhet here. See what we draw into. Mill 3 lands. Drawn to a Tidal Terror. We're probably going to cycle that. Overgrown Pest. I'm so excited to start Halo Charge stabbing some Breach the Multiverses in some of these games, potentially. Ooh, I guess now I'm not cycling the Tidal Terror because we hit Invasion of Rin. Okay, land, I need those. I'm gonna drop the Squadron, it's gonna be a lot of mana. Could play Surveyor and Inquisitor next turn. Make the most of all my mana. Get some chump blocking dorks set up. Grab the second planes and we've got perfect mana set up. Another Overgrown Pest, lots of 2-for-1s from our opponent. 3 mana 2/2s drawn cards every time. Just getting lands though this game. Did not hit any battles or double-faced creatures with them. Herbology Instructor. Alright. Not very high power, so we've still got time. Render Inert's beautiful on this Invasion of Amonkhet. Make our own Overgrown Pest. Make our just a 4/4 flyer if we want. 3 mana to do that. I think I'm gonna play Norns, and this is instant speed? No, it's sorcery speed? Okay. This is sorcery speed. I think I play this right now. Gotta hold up the white source for Inquisitor. We draw into a Moment of Truth. I'd rather get a flyer on board or draw a land. I don't care too much about the flying, even though I could flip Invasion of Rin. I think I'd rather be just drawing another land here and just constantly blocking on ground because I already have so many cards. I don't need to double up a spell later. I just need to make sure I have the mana to keep casting everything. Oh my god, I could pick up a battle instead? If I want. Again, I think I have tons of great stuff. Moment of Truth to dig for the bombs. I'm going to take the land here. Another blue source right now. Have to play a card to not discard the hand size, so we'll play Norn's Inquisitor. Because if I island cycle the Tidal Terror, I still have to discard the hand size there. Alright. Feels like some pretty good blockers here. This game looks like it's going really well for us right now, but there's a lot of pretty swingy cards that could change things around. We've got multiple in our deck. We are well versed in the world of bombs. Invasion of Muragonda. Counter on the pest, fight the Inquisitor. Alright, still can't attack into our 4/4 Overgrown Pest. I guess they can if they really want to flip this invasion and get some damage onto it. Alright. Kill the 3/3. Invasion goes down to 4 defense. A combat trick here. This is also very fine. Yeah. Will we still trade in even? Okay, that's just really nice. Get a 2-for-1 kill off of that. Got Nefara's Dispersal to make sure they don't flip that for only 1 mana. Could play Surveyor and flip my Incubator and hold up a Fara's Dispersal. Seems like where it's at. Then we get the second white source. And if I don't... Oh, I guess if I played another island this turn, then if I didn't need to flip the Incubator, I could play Moment of Truth. But if I need to play Dispersal, then I can't play Dispersal and Moment of Truth. So if I have to play Dispersal, then I'm going to have to just flip the Incubator with the extra 2 mana. I guess if something really weird happens and I don't need to flip the Incubator and I don't need to cast Dispersal, then I can play Moment of Truth here. But yeah, I should have grabbed the plains, so I had the double white if I hit the Angel, but still played an island this turn. So hold up Dispersal plus Moment of Truth. Alright, flip the Instructor, kill the Skittering Surveyor. Sure. Probably bounce the Portent Tracker and trade with the Overgrown Pest. Let Invasion of Muragonda go to 1. They are going to attack with only the 3/3. I don't really love putting that in their hand. I guess I just let it go to 1. And then I play Moment of Truth. Oh, I guess, yeah, they can kill it with Tracker. But this thing's not that scary, is it? I can also just put that back in their hand, because I don't care if they fight another creature that much. Yeah, it's just a 4/4 gives another thing +2/+2. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, Moment of Truth. There we go. We're going to breach the multiverse. I don't think it really matters what I put in grave. So we're going to breach the multiverse, then we're going to halo charge scab, then we're going to breach the multiverse, then we're going to halo charge scab, then we're going to breach the multiverse. Alright. And we'll mill our opponent out before we mill out as well. So we get one from each graveyard. So I'll get my giant life-linking flyer. And I'll get their... Finn? Or an overgrown pest? I'm not actually that excited about their graveyard. I guess I'll grab Finn. They're down to 11 cards in their library, so if I cast another Breach of the Multiverse, they just mill out. Look at them and their 40-card library. Tiny deck for a tiny player. Killing a creature that's technically one less power, but I'm taking one less damage for this turn. I'm going to set up a blocker and a bounce spell next turn. I'm just going to stop as much damage as possible, because if I resolve another breach, they just lose. Here we go. They know what's going on here. You have one turn to kill me, opponent. Go for it. I've got 2 blockers and a dispersal. They have 8 cards in library. The Yorion and Breach combo is actually hilarious. Like, I already have to play a 60-card deck for Yorion, and it makes it so Breach the Multiverse with these Halo Charge scabs can just straight up mill my opponent out, because our deck is just too big for us to get milled first. Oh, they milled a Galta. Oh, imagine if we could have got that off the Breach. That would have been phenomenal. I can get it off this Breach, but they're already going to be milled out, so I don't think it really matters. I guess I'll just go for the double block. They don't mill me one, then it doesn't really matter. Alright. And their deck is gone. Get a Galta and Maverin, and I'll get a Boonbringer Valkyrie again. Alright, and they're just scooping them up while I'm trying to go through the motions, because they are already on an empty library. So 1-1, and that game definitely makes round 1 look like just some premature justice against this deck. This deck is really slow. That is the big flaw, but it does such disgusting things in the late game. Probably fair that we get aggroed out a game or two, because definitely feels like we're the villains. We're literally going to get some mill victories. Not a very nice thing to do. Not a very heroic thing to do. 1-1, heading into game number 3. Alright, here we are on the play. Tidal Terror means this is a 3-land hand. And Moment of Truth can find a black or white source. It's not wonderful, but I'm going to keep it. Because again, blue is just our most important color by far. Alright, I'd rather Moment of Truth than Tidal Terror, because we were really looking for a black source with double Invasion of Amonkhet in the hand. If we can't find the black source, at least we'll grab a Plains here and play Norn's Inquisitor. There's a black source. Well, I don't have 7 mana, and I have 2 scabs that can return the Breach to my hand. So I think I'm putting it in the grave instead of in my library, because it goes to the bottom of the library. It's got to be a little scary for our opponent. They're like, wait a second. Wait a second. What are you doing over there? So here's the invasion of Amonkhet. Starting us off. Discard a Vanquish the Weak. That is a good discard, because that's not going to be very good against our deck. Xerex Strobe Knight. There's our next Breach the Multiverse. I think I'd rather Dispersal the Strobe Knight than play another invasion right now. Because that can also guarantee that I can Tidal Terror for another island. I think I'm going to hold the mana up to Dispersal for 3 mana in case they try to cast 2 spells this turn. I can bounce the Strobe Knight before it triggers. If they cast like a 1 or 2 mana spell pre-combat, I'll respond by Dispersaling. Okay, and if they just go for the attack, then we can Dispersal. So if they play 2 spells, then the Strobe Knight gets to spit stuff out, and I don't want to see that. Oh, I should have Tidal Terrored before I cast Dispersal. That was so loose. I don't actually get value from that mill. I guess I still got... There's 2 less non-lands in my deck now. Either way. But that is kind of awkward. I should have Island Cycled first, so I actually was setting up the top. I guess it didn't matter, because I milled both cards, so the next card is just a random card either way. Another black source for Breach. We just got to make it 7 mana. We're at 5 already. Play Invasion of Amonkhet first in case I draw land. I can play Inquisitor as well. Oh, I milled both my scabs. That's actually okay. If this Breach the Multiverse resolves, then we pick up a scab with that one. And then I don't even have to... Oh my god, then I can literally just play a Breach every turn. Because I don't have to spend a turn playing the scabs. I just reanimate them, put the Breach on top of deck, and play it the next turn. That's so funny. Alright. Play a Squadron next turn if I don't hit my white source. Or I could just put a Yorion in hand. So the one thing that we're worried about is if our opponent has Negate, so... Ideally, we catch them while they're tapped out. Moment of truth. They're going to play 2 spells here, get a creature off the Strobe Knight. Yeah, it's going to get scary. Strobe Knight's going to do some work. Unseal the Necropolis is pretty good because we milled them some cards here, so they got some options. They're not that scary of options. I am into the fact that they're milling. Because that means that if I now I can play Inquisitor instead of Squadron. I feel like Squadron's probably still better. A 3/4 flyer instead of a 1/1 and a 3/3 on the ground. I guess if they have removal, it plays better, and they probably do. They don't have removal, Squadron's better, because then it stops the Knight from attacking. I guess Inquisitor stops the Knight on the ground from attacking. The Strobe Knight can just choose not to attack. It's not like I get to kill it by playing Squadron. Yeah, sure. I think I'm going to flip this Incubator now, so even if they do anything to Inquisitor, it's going to be a 3/3. Instead of a 2/2. Alright, just send in the Strobe Knight. Please tap out for Inga. Or something like that, Rona from the grave. No blue mana up. Halo Forager. Recast a 2 mana spell from graveyard. Moment of Truth, and then they get another card from Strobe Knight. Yeah. They're going to be tapped out, but we need to survive 2 hits after this turn. Which we can probably do with something in their grave. Oh, they have a Final Flourish they milled. That's pretty nice. Kill the Inquisitor here. Sure, and that does trigger Strobe Knight. So I'm 100% going to choose my own Scab so that I can just play Breach again next turn and they die. They have 6 cards in their library. So let's see their graveyard first. Just a Processor and a Rona? That's it? Oh, I guess probably Processor because it's 2 blockers instead of 1. I don't really care about their life total. We are going to pick a Halo Charge Scab and put a Breach on top of our library. Alright. They're at 3 cards in library, so even if they have a counterspell for this Breach the Multiverse, they need to kill us in a few turns. If they don't have a negate in their deck or an artistic refusal, then they are going to get milled out. I mean, they know the Breach the Multiverse is coming, but if they pass the turn and just hold all their mana up, I'm pretty sure I have to just tap out for it anyway. Alright, I've come to the conclusion that the 60-card version of this deck is actually better than the 40-card version because the Breach the Multiverse mill plan that we won with last game and might be winning with this game. Yeah, they just scoop it up. Alright. Yeah, it was probably underestimating the 60-card version and overestimating the 40-card. Having just the 20 extra cards to just use the breaches just to get enough blockers to survive to mill our opponent out is pretty sick. And Breach plus Scab is such a hilarious combo. We're almost guaranteed to have a Scab in grave to be able to pick it up with the Breach. Or a Scab in hand at some point, right? Because we're going to see like 10 cards minimum with the mill. And obviously everything we've drawn that game, we're going to have drawn 14 cards, 7 in our opener, 7 in the turns leading up to the Breach. So we're going to be like at least 30 cards deep, at least halfway through our library by the time we cast a Breach. And if there's like one Scab, then we know we can put a Breach back on top of our library in the really efficient way by reanimating it with Breach, or in the less efficient way of just playing it from hand. So really like the double Scab in this deck too. And we are 2-1 now, heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4. Some good card selection, some very solid blockers early. This is a hand that might actually survive some early aggro from our opponents, even if they have some nice cheap battles like our first opponent. So this seems actually like a very good hand. Pretty happy to roll with it. Playing against a fellow blue-black deck. They'll mill out first, though, so if they have any self-mill cards, I think it's just going to help us out. Ooh, Invasion of Amonkhet's. Could slam that on board, or I could Captive Weird. I think I like saving the Captive Weird for later, when I have like 6 or 7 mana the turn after I flip the Weird. We milled a Collective Nightmare into their graveyard, and another lookout into ours. Drawn to another Moment of Truth. Alright. Xerax Strobe Knights. No interaction. Card is spooky. The card is not a good time for us. They need 8 or more cards in grave for this to be able to attack. They have 4 right now. 7 after I play another Invasion of Amonkhet. We might be able to attack with Lookout next turn. So maybe flipping Weird now and attacking the Invasion is right. I feel like it's probably like Tidal Terror, hold up Moment of Truth though. Get our mana working for us and dig towards potential removal for that Strobe Knight. Yeah, I should Moment of Truth probably right now. Because I do have the -2/-2 instant. If I hit that, I should just play it. Okay, well, we're just going to take a breach. Put Umezawa in grave, I guess. And then we'll island cycle that island that we just put on the bottom. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have played the land. I probably should have went Moment of Truth. And then if the best card in our top 3 was an island, we could just take that and play that as land for turn. I guess it didn't matter that I played the land. Oh, no, it did, because if it was an island off the Moment of Truth, then we could have cast both Moment of Truths instead of Tidal Terror here. Didn't end up being the best card. Breach of the Multiverse is definitely better, but could have been an island. So, been waiting on that land there. Grafted Butcher. Gives all their Phyrexians menace and can recur from the graveyard by sacking a creature artifact. Hey, they're not casting a second spell. Alright. Happy to see it. Happy to see it. Boonbringer Valkyrie. Ah, just the one white source though. Cast another Invasion of Amonkhet and a Moment of Truth. Again, I probably shouldn't have played my land yet. Guess it matters less this time because we have the mana up for the moment either way, and we have the mana up for the 2-mana removal spell either way if I draw that. Okay. And it can't be blocked, period? Wait a second, this card's actually just legit. Hold up. Hold up a minute. This thing can flip some invasions in 2 hits. It just can't be blocked, period. Yeah, I can already block this with a 1/3. Snap. And I can't block a 3/3 with a 2/3, so I might as well, right? Oh, snap. Expedition Lookout has bonus text? Nice 4/4 that can't block my Lookout. Look, they're reading it too. They're like, wait a sec, the 2-mana 2/3 defender that nobody plays has extra text? What is this? This is your worst nightmare. Expedition Lookout. Alright, I'm taking a lot of damage here, which is not ideal. Gotta get 2 more lands to be in this. Gotta get them quickly. There's a land, I'm taking that over these. Dispersal's strong, though. But I take a land, I think. I do not love it. Okay, there's land 6, land 7. Can flip an Invasion of Amonkhet for another blocker. What do I even get to copy right now? Basically nothing in their grave. We have a Protocol Knight we can copy, or a Flyer. I don't have a Knight on board right now, though, do I? I have a Rogue and a Weird. Oh, this is a Knight! Thunderhead Squadron's a Knight? Oh my god. Okay, so I can play Thunderhead Squadron. If they don't have a counterspell. If they have a counterspell, though, they can just counter the Invasion of Amonkhet when we try to flip it. Yeah, this is our best play, even if they kill the Lookout or counter the Invasion of Amonkhet. Because I can't cast the Valkyrie, and I can't play a Yorion. I could only put it in my hand right now, so we have to put something on board for blocks. Alright, it does resolve. Let's see if Invasion of Amonkhet resolves. We're gonna shuffle their graveyard into their library at instant speed? No. Okay. Do you counter the Lazotep Convert? You do, fair enough. Well, I potentially have the blocker in the sky for the night, so we just take 4 this turn instead of 6. If they do not have removal as well. Got bad news, they've got removal as well. Don't really care about reanimating that, I think. Should have something better to pick up. Go to 6 life now. I probably chump block at this point. 4 is a significant amount of damage. And they double spelled for the Strobe Knight. Alright, here we go. Spin that wheel. They have a Tidal Terror, a Freewheeler, Gloomfang Mauler, a Freewheeler, an Etched Familiar. Could flip a Freewheeler and get another card back from grave later. It's only a 3/3 for now, though. Does mill them 3 more, and they're at 9 cards in library. What is our graveyard? We have the Halo Charge Scab, so if we survive, Halo Charged Scab wins us the game next turn. If they can't counter the next breach, we just fully mill them out. And we mill them 5 from those both hitting the board. 100% that's what we do, right? Freewheeler, Halo Charge Scab. Maybe because Halo Charge Scab's going to mill them out anyway, I should take the Mauler and have as much toughness on the board as possible instead. That is a lot of toughness. 7 toughness that we get to spread out however we want it. Yeah, we'll do that. Oh, I could even flip Invasion of Amonkhet actually by doing this. Back up onto the Lookout. Put the Breach back on top. They have 7 cards left. I could flip this and copy anything in a grave again. But have a 4/4 version of it. Maybe a 4/4 Hexproofer is the safest thing we can do now. We hold up just as many blockers, whether I kill that or not. Go for the mill 3, but then I screw myself over because I mill my own breach. I gotta choose just a good blocker. Don't want to search my library either. Do I have a knight on board? I do not have a knight on board. Let's just get a hexproofing blocker, I guess. Alright, let's see if they have a mill card of their own. Fingers crossed it's a no. And they can't mill our Breach the Multiverse. Although I suppose if I picked their mill dork, I would mill my own Breach, but then with their mill dork and an Invasion of Amonkhet, we mill 6. So it's an alternate way to mill them out. Yeah, maybe I should have done that, because that would play around them milling the top card of my library here. Do they have a self-mill card? Or an each player mills card right now? For 2 mana? They have a Final Flourish. Will that find lethal, though? Not on board, I believe. We still have 2 blockers. Take a lot of damage, but not 10. And then I mill them out. Unless they have Artistic Refusal. copy number 2 in their hand. No, they only have 5 creatures, so they can't even have artistic refusal. One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, not enough for artistic, and that's the only convoke counter. So their library is gone, and they scoop them up. We are now 3-1. The multiverse has been breached. Breach the multiverse, Halo Charge Scab, back at it again. Just isn't enough to play one Breach the Multiverse. We're just gonna keep playing like 2 or 3. So we head into game 5. Our deck is actually just the 7 mana Splinter Twin combo deck. Way slower than a Splinter Twin combo, but it's pretty sick. Alright, we got the Render Inert with Invasion of Volgrowth, so we got that combo coming up. That's pretty sick. Got the Surveyor for a white source, so we have all of our colors. Probably going to Surveyor for a black, though, if I don't hit the second black, just because of how important having Breach the Multiverse mana is. Well, they're going to counter my Surveyor? Alright, well, I still got lands, that's fine. That is surprising. I guess they have to get the counter out of the way when they know that it'll do something. Just put Yorion in hand here. This could be an issue if I don't top deck another land. If I do, though, I've got tons of options. Invasion or Scab or Yorion. Well, I guess the counterspell on Skittering Surveyor did pan out real well for them. I'm getting a little greedy here by not just cycling Render Inert to draw a card to try to hit the land, but this way I get to hold up my counterspell, and whenever I do hit the Mana for Old Growth, I'll actually flip a thing with it. Just playing nothing. It's just the control mirror match. They have less cards in library than us, though. Do I just try to play Yorion right now? I mean, they'll definitely counter it. They've been doing nothing. Scab's still pretty strong. Although I'm not going to put anything on top. You know what? Play Yorion. No counterspell, so just all removal then. Is there instant speed removal? Oh, put it back in our hand. That's okay. They'll have it for later. Yeah, definitely a very controlling mirror match here. Play a 3 toughness card. Thank you. Just gonna flip it immediately. Won't be that excited to see them flip it immediately, because then they will get a 1/1 out of it when I Invasion of Volgrowtha, but I think I'll still Invasion of Volgrowtha. So that my Render Inert goes ham, and Yorion goes ham. Yorion can flicker the Volgrowtha, Render Inert can flip it. Astral Wingspan. Make a 3/3 flying sapperling. Go to town. Alright. Do they have the 2 mana counterspell for Yorion? Nope. Well then goodbye 3/3 flying sapperling. Boop. Want to do that before I Render Inert, because if I turn this into a creature, then I flip it into not a creature anymore with Yorion. I think is not what I want. Tidal Terror. Probably be bouncing that with Afar's Dispersal. Let us Render Inert. See where things go from there. Moment of Truth. So hold up Assimilate Essence plus Dispersal. And if we don't have to Assimilate Essence, then we get to play Moment of Truth plus Dispersal. Feels pretty great. We might just be combat damaging with Yori in this game. Just actually killing them with flyers. It would be good to know we can win a game without Breach the Multiverse. Dispersing that does seem kind of spicy, but Yorian alone can win this race if I just deal with Tidal Terror, so I'd rather deal with that, I think, than save Grandma. Sorry, Grandma. Actually do like Cut Short here, and I've already got 7 lands, so we can just mill the Surveyor. And they're gonna pass to damage. We will cast the Tidal Terror. Can assimilate that and I'll still have a Cut Short for if they play something scarier later. And we are very much winning the race now. Play the Inquisitor, or I could play Tygam. Tygam is cooler. Inquisitor hits harder though, hits a little faster. I think I'd rather set that up. Play Scab as well, just really slam the board down. Sure. Final Flourish on top? Oh, I can just put Invasion on top. That's sick. Forgot that I can hit battles, it's not just instants and sorceries. Seems pretty fine to me. Etched Familiar does not do much here. Gives me a target for Invasion of Volgrotha, which is nice. Temporal Cleansing the Incubator. Yeah, I'll put it second from the top. They'll have Moment of Truth and Cut Short up. They're 15? Yeah, I'll flip the Invasion instead, and then attack them next turn. That's 7 damage in the sky. Skittering Surveyor for them. Grabs an island. Okay, Moment of Truth in the end step. There's a Breach the Multiverse. Guess I put the creature in grave for more breach options. But we might as well do it to him here. What did they hit? Ooh, a Chrome Host Seed Shark? Kind of slow, but then when I play my next breach, I get a 7/7 Incubator. Feels good. And I'm holding up Cut Short because I have 3 creatures up. If they play a, I don't know, a 30/30 with Trample and Haste. There's Tetsuko Umezawa, but that is not going to be enough. They are going to scoop it up, and we are going to be 4-1 with our Yorian Breach the Multiverse deck. Here we are for game 6 now. We are going to have to take the mulligan on this one. Just need the 3rd land a little too badly. One of these was an island, it'd be a keep, because we have Dispersal to Surveil and Surveyor to hit a land, but I think it's a little too risky the other way. This looks better. Get rid of Tygam here pretty easily. Yep, not missing out on too much there. Ichor Drinker from our opponent to start things off. That's pretty aggressive. We could be in for a bad time. They've got a 1-drop. They've got an aggro dork. Run for your lives. Grafted Butcher turn 2. Yeah, that's very aggressive. That gives all of their Phyrexians +1/+1, so if they've got the right creature types, we're going to take a lot of damage. We're going to roll out a Tetsuka Umezawa here so we can block some 2/2s, potentially stop some damage. We might get removal spelled here or combat tricked. Seraph of New Capenna. Is that a Phyrexian? It is a Phyrexian on the backside, so it'll get bigger over there. That's not ideal. Roll out the Invasion of Amonkhet. Draw a card, have them discard a card. We gotta hope for some interaction quickly. Some of our dispersals or -2/-2 spells. Or cut short. Cut short doesn't work. We don't have a white source. But definitely our bounce spells out of blue. Wow, yeah, this is a really aggressive black-white Phyrexia curve. They've got a Norn's Inquisitor now, which basically is a 2/2 and a 4/4. Because this will flip as a 3/3 from Inquisitor and have +1/+1 from Butcher. This is a Phyrexia all-will-be-one style aggro curve. And our deck is not good at surviving those. But to be fair, not a ton of decks in this format are good at surviving this kind of onslaught. I think I probably have to play a 3/4 here, even though it doesn't actually tap anything. So they can flip the Seraph, and now they're attacking for a ton in the sky because they can easily sacrifice the Ichor Drinker and then the token that it produces, which means they hit us for 7 in the sky 2 turns in a row and just finish us off. Honestly, they could probably just attack with everybody, but just attacking with Seraph, sacking Ichor Drinker is enough for a two-turn kill, so they might as well just do that. Safer and still threatens a very fast lethal. Very quick clock. We find Assimilate Essence. Definitely too late for the counterspell. See if Moment of Truth finds a way to save us, but probably just another loss to aggro. Yeah, I can play one more blocker with Surveyor or Inquisitor, and I die in the sky. 0 ways to attempt to draw a card, to find one of my 2-mana removal spells, or my 1-mana bounce spells. Yeah. We are dead. 4-2, heading into round 7. Alright, here we are for game 7. Opponent is on the play. So we're on the draw. We get to hold up Assimilate Essence and cast Moment of Truth if we don't use the moment to try to hit more lands. I don't love the hand, but don't think we mulligan. We mulligan this with 3 castable spells, plus being on the draw to hit more lands. Okay, there's a Final Flourish, alright. I think that's literally the first time I've actually drawn that removal spell, so happy to see it. Playing against another blue-black deck. That I will counter, because it gives them a 2/2 flyer and a 1/1 on the ground, so even if I flourish, I don't stop the whole thing. Well, now we got a Moment of Truth. Find the land, there we go, Tranquil Cove it shall be. Just put the spell in the grave, usually. Chrome Host Siege Shark. We are going to need to kill the heck out of that. Could 2-for-1 myself to do it. I'm already up 1 card because of Yorion, so it's probably worth it to kill that before they can cast anything. By just playing Cryptomancer and sacking it to flourish. Cryptomancer sack itself or Umezawa sack itself? I think Cryptomancer sack itself. We definitely just kill it before we pass to them. So they don't have any opportunities to make incubate tokens off of it. Alright, well, probably would have been in a really, really bad spot if I didn't have Final Flourish. I definitely wasn't going to just hold up Cut Short, because then they could just play non-creature spells in main phase 1, get value there, and then if they choose not to attack with Seed Shark and use it as an enchantment, then we're never killing it with Cut Short, and we're falling really far behind. I'm going to go Invasion of Amonkhet here, hoping to draw land. Because even if I don't draw land, my alternate play is to play a Tetsuko Umezawa, which can't block a 3/3 anyway, if they flip that. Or to Cut Short this thing, which I think I'd rather save Cut Short for something larger. Alright, we missed a land again. Not doing super hot on the mana this game. Or 5 lands down. No, they milled 2 more lands. Milling our breach is fine. Got 2 of my scab. We're at 49% of our deck being lands. We're on coin flip levels right now. We're certainly losing a lot of them. Got Inquisitor, and I can still Cut Short the Rona if they attack in with it, and if they don't attack in with Rona, I can just flip a 3/3. That feels like my best play this turn. I can't really afford to just draw another card off Invasion of Amonkhet. But we're looking pretty dead, because now they get their Chrome Seed Shark back, and we don't have a way to kill that, because I have to kill this Rona. And we're just missing far too many land drops. That's why we're playing 26 lands and a bunch of land tutors. Gotta hit as many as possible. Fair enough. Their deck seems as balmy as ours. There's their 3 rares, Zephyr Singer, Chrome Host Seed Shark, Rona. Unfortunately for us, their rares are aggressive rares, instead of 7 mana rares like our Double Breach Yorion. Oh my god. Lands? Alright. There's one of them. I guess they don't have any non-creature spells for the Seed Shark right now because they're playing empty-handed. I kind of have to kill Rona though, because otherwise they cast a random card from our hand. So they could just cast our Breach against us. I'm dying in 2 swings anyway. 8. And then they just flip this and attack for 9 next turn. I guess not quite 2 swings. Die in 3 swings. Render inert. Draw a card, get a 4/4 version of a Halo Forager, which lets me cast a 2 mana spell from a grave. That lets me cast... Do I have my -2/-2 in grave still? I believe I do. Yeah. So we make a 4/4 flyer and we Final Flourish one of their creatures. Hope to draw into a land off of it. That could be the beginning of a comeback. Did not draw land off it though. I guess if they flip the order, it's a 4/4 that's going to make my creature get -1/-1 when I block it, so I won't be able to block the order. The Seed Shark only makes creatures on the ground that I could block with my 3/3. Maybe I have to kill the Order of the Mirror, which is really awkward. It's either the Order or the Seed Shark, I think, because Forager can already block the Singer, but the Seed Shark keeps giving them creatures. The Order we can't block with Halo Forager. I guess I cast it unkicked then, and just kill the Order of the Mirror. And just hope they don't draw spells for Seed Shark. The Strobe Knight. Another flyer. Could definitely be bad. And a land. There's land number 6 for Breach the Multiverse. Hold. Hold. I have a knight on board because Inquisitor's a Phyrexian Knight. Could attack Invasion of Amonkhet with Halo Forager here. That feels risky though. I'm not playing another flying blocker right now. If I play Protocol Knight, I think I'd still rather play Protocol Knight. They definitely can't cast 2 spells next turn unless they top deck a draw spell. So shut off the 3/4. I don't think the 1/1 really blocks at all. I think I just keep that life total high. Wait for that 7th land for Breach the Multiverse. There's the 7th land for Breach the Multiverse. Please tell me that card in hand is not negate. It is not negate. Are we going to town? Depends on what they have in graveyard. A Halo Forager, but I can't afford to do that. Take their Rona to flip later. I think I'd rather just have pure stats and take their Gloomfang Mauler right now. Do I have any flyers in my grave? I do not. But I could play my Tygam, or I could play my unblockable Lookout, which is fun. I think I'm just going to take more pure stats with Tidal Terror, though. Try to flip Invasion of Amonkhet. If I put the counters on Tetsuko is not unblockable anymore, though, because the ability doesn't work anymore. It has more than 1 power. So I can't go for lethal on Invasion with that. I guess I put it on Protocol Knight and I still have plenty of blockers, and then I can send the Knight at the Invasion. So the Invasion goes to 1, or they have to chump. Seems fine. I mean, it goes to 1 no matter what. If they don't chump, then we get it on our board. Okay, we get it on our board. I just take another flyer this time. Pass the turn. Seems like a huge swing in our favor. That's probably already good enough. This format is so swingy. It gives me a heart attack every game. I was like 90% certain we were going to lose this game. Oh, we might still. Speaking of swingy, there goes all our blockers. That's 7 damage in the sky. And they don't untap next turn? We might just be dead. I guess they only have 1 blocker up, but I can't kill it with anything. What do? They block a 5/6? They block a 5/6 with the Cryptomancer, take 1, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's not lethal. I can't turn it into lethal. If I Yorion and, wait, 5, 6, 7. I don't have the mana to put Yorion in hand and cast it. If I play Seraph and Thunderhead Squadron, I have enough blockers to survive. So we have to do that. Like, barely enough blockers to survive, so they still win if they top deck removal. I tap the 3/3 because none of my ground blockers matter. Because they only have flyers. I guess they have a 4/4 on the ground that I need to block with something. I'll do like that, I think. So block a flyer, take 2, go to 1. I need to have 1 blocker on the ground. And a 5/5 and a 5/6. I don't even think I should keep 2 blockers on the ground, because if they draw 1 removal spell, they just kill a flyer and I'm dead, right? They draw a removal spell, it's going to be like -2/-2 or better, which is good enough to kill the flyer or a ground troop. Yeah, I'll just leave 1 blocker on the ground for a chump block against the 4/4. Okay. No top deck removal 1 time. I say 1 time, but I am making requests like this every time. Let's be honest. Okay. They either top deck removal and kill me now, or they die on the crackback. Captive Weird's not a removal spell, but can flip and try to draw 1. Alright, it's gonna be revealed. What's the final draw? It's a removal spell! No! Aww. We tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, didn't even matter. So today's deck goes 4 and 3. A little unfortunate. I would have liked to do a lot better than that. Normally 4 and 3 is fine. If I go 4 and 3 every draft, we're breaking even on gems, but this was a really fun one, a really spicy one, and definitely our last loss at least was a pretty huge bummer in the end. But overall, I had a ton of fun with this deck. We did some egregious things with Breach the Multiverse, with double Halo Charge Scab. We did some really fun stuff, and really splashy deck, really powerful one. Had a good time today for sure, but that is going to end today's draft, and that is also going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting the channel, and thank you for watching. If you're interested in seeing some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.